going back to that relationship thing, the relationship between a worship leader and an MD is paramount to a service going well.
It's trust,
and often it's trust, and every worship leader is different. So just because you may have a lot of trust with one worship leader, you may not have the same rapport with a different worship leader.
Yeah.
So you have to gauge out what their preference is. If they like to call everything, if they prefer you to call everything, that you can't just rock up and just treat everyone the same. Otherwise, you might irritate a few people. So I think it's our job really to gauge that relationship, and over time you kind of forge out, normally some of our key worship leaders would really trust Nigel and I, and if there's something happening, they know that we're navigating something, they would normally just leave it with us to call what we think is great, and if they want to call something different, they would signal it. But that's built over years of trust.
100%.
That wouldn't be something that I would just turn up and do with a brand new worship leader. There'd be conversations. So that's really important. Finally, our final few minutes together, we want to talk about follow-up. What happens after the service? What happens when we've had a really tricky set, or we've maybe had something we've misread? Do we just pack up our gear and go home? What do we actually do as a team?
I think you do this really well.
Thank you.
I just thought I'd jump in there and so you can answer.
Look, I feel like anytime we have like a misfire, if you will, say if I have a misunderstanding with the drummer, or I call something and he just literally does the opposite thing, or Jad calls something and it's too late and I completely misread it and he calls for it to come down and I just bulldoze past it. Literally, as soon as we get off stage, I'll go and make it right and go, "Oh, Jad, I'm so sorry. I completely didn't see you." Or the drummer, "Did you not hear me? What happened there?" But it's in a way of, the sooner you can kind of address whatever it is of going, "I'm so sorry," it actually just preserves the relationship. And we have so many laughs off stage about some of the stuff that happens, because we're all human and we try to do our job well. But look, we all mess up from time to time. And so I think it's really important that we're giving feedback and we're learning as music directors. Sometimes I've confused people before, and so they go, "Oh, I didn't understand what you meant by that." And so I think
I promise you I've done that more than you have, seriously.
But I think it's really important to actually follow up and say if there was something where someone didn't have a great sound or they didn't do exactly what you wanted. I feel like the time, you kind of have to gauge the time. If they're going to be too sensitive, if you talk about it right after the service, maybe just go, "Oh, thanks so much, thanks everyone," and then maybe address it during the week and go, Can we go out for coffee and let's have a chat about the weekend? And I think kind of in closing, one of the things that's really important is, we're pastors, right? And so it's our pastoral job to make sure that when people serve with us, when they interact with us, we're not doing anything to expose their weakness, we're trying to safeguard it. And we're actually hoping to inspire and equip them to be better, to do better, that they would grow in their craft and their relationship with the Lord after kind of serving on our team and serving with us in services.
100%, yeah.
And relationship, everything rises and falls on relationship, hey?
Well, we play out of relationship, I think if we're just rocking up because we're rostered, we're rostered for a roster position and we're just playing music. I mean, you can just do that at the local pub, or you can do that in your bedroom, but we're coming together. And when we play out of relationship, I think there's a synergy that happens that's so much more than just stringing four chords together. Like just personally, one of the things I do when I rock up on a Sunday morning or whenever I'm rostered is, before I even play the first note or set up my gear, I'll just go around and shake everyone's hand and just say hi to everyone and just say, "How you going? How's your week been? You doing well?" Great. And then so you're playing out of that place. If someone's had a tough week, then they know they're carrying that, and then you can kind of help carry that burden as well while you play together and you craft the set together. I think relationship is so key. I actually love what you said as well before about just not addressing, if something goes wrong and not addressing it straight away, and emotions are heightened and people are vulnerable. There's one time, I just got a story. There's one time, you mentioned Jad before. I'm like, "Oh, Jad." We were on a tour and then we were doing, it was Pastor Brian's book tour.
I remember this.
It was, what's that song? Open Heaven. We were on the bridge And in rehearsal, we wanted to craft the oh Holy Spirit, da 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 da, that part, and then Jad wanted to break it down to like this big drum break, the kick on the 2 and the 4, get everyone singing, and then end it like that. And we rehearsed it, we crafted in rehearsal, and it was amazing, and he was like, I'll call the drum thing. I'm like, awesome, sounded great in the set. So we're coming to the end of the bridge, and it's big, everything like that, and then Jad's hand goes up, and he's doing that. Now, in his mind, he's signaling the drum thing, but to a music director, what does that look like? That looks like a finish. So what did I do? I called it on the last beat. I'm like, let's end it, let's end it, let's end it. So the whole band just went, and just went. And Jad launched into that big note, oh. And the band finished, and he's looking at his fist, and he's looking at me, and he's like, rah, and his voice was exposed out there by himself, and then he's like, oh, did I call an ending? And then, but the thing is, then Pastor Brian walked up and stood between us, and we're sort of awkwardly looking at each other like, whose fault was it, And then, but in the end, we just kind of laughed about it, and we were like, did you call, but I thought you did that, but your fist, and we just laughed, Yeah. And I think it's important to laugh about those things and not take yourself too seriously. Yeah. We're just human. We're just trying to make the best of, everyone wants to do the best. 100%. So. And I think there's beauty in anytime something happens, you're quick to have a conversation, let the person know that, you had their back, you may have misunderstood them or whatever. And one of the last things that I wanted to mention, kind of referring to an earlier section, is when you're kind of in rehearsal and you're crafting things, there's 8 different ways to skin a cat. So music is subjective, right? So true. I could have a really great idea for an intro. If the worship leader doesn't like that, that's fine. It's not my way or the highway. Everything is, I feel like because music is so subjective, bring your ideas, but if people don't go with your ideas, don't. Yeah. That's fine. A music director, not a music dictator. And so I think even sometimes Nigel and I will ask each other what we think we should do. Sometimes Nigel will go, oh, do you have an idea for this? I may give him an idea. He may take it. He may go, oh, no, let's go a different direction. And as open-handed as we can be with our creativity and our ideas, it just keeps the unity on the platform. And our job is kind of not to just have everything go our way, but to make sure that we're in unity. So if the worship leader has a particular way that they want to approach a song, let's not be arguing with them that our way is probably musically better, even though it might be in our mind. Let's actually realize that the most important thing is unity. So if 100%. The worship leader wants to start a song a certain way and is really passionate about that, let's get behind that and make it happen. And that's actually where the unity will happen. So we hope that you've had fun with us today. As you can see, we enjoy having a chat about music directing. We've had the honor and privilege of kind of working together for many years. Many years. And so we hope that you've enjoyed being with us today as much as we've enjoyed chatting and being with you.